great to be here. And speaking of holidays, can I just say to everyone out there, Happy Easter! And whether you're celebrating the Bible or the bunny, I hope you had a great day. Now, I'm sure they also had a great time over at the ABC, of course, where, well, they always seem like a real barrel of fun. But yet, for some reason, they can't even bring themselves to say the word Easter. Not even when it's in the context of an event like the Sydney Royal Easter Show. Or as this ABC radio presenter had it just the other day, simply the show.
So the bison's there, and also some trick riding going on at the show. So we'll hope to bring all the action from the show to you next week. We'll be broadcasting there for 4 days from the show. And a very good afternoon. Welcome to the Country Hour, broadcasting again from the Royal Show. And today we're at the wood chopping event. So if it's a little bit noisy in the background, that's the reason why. Joined here by Josh Becker. So fantastic day for the show.
Oh, perfect day for the show. It's blue skies.
Great day for the show, and thanks, by the way, to Ray Hadley for first picking up on this. Now, in ABC world, of course, the phrase Sydney Royal Easter Show is like a trifecta of problematic words. Think about it. Easter, Royal, even Sydney. All of these things would be enough to give an Ultimo dweller hives. Surely the ABC would prefer the event be called something like, I don't know, the Gadigal Lands of the Eora Nation Republic March Holiday Season Event instead. Yeah, you think I'm kidding, but truly this whole thing with the holidays right now is getting out of hand. And it's not just the ABC. When it comes to Easter, there is a global push on to cancel the event and replace it with, well, I'll tell you about that in just a second. Because, for example, in Canada, just to take one example, the Department of Veterans Affairs has wished everyone, yes, as I suggested before, a happy March holiday season. Because, of course, you can't say Easter in Fidel Jr.'s Canada, can you? And this is before we get to reports of so-called gesture eggs rather than Easter eggs being sold in the UK, and so on and so forth. There's so many of these things I could tell you. But if we're into, or if we're not celebrating Easter anymore, the question then is, you know, with the left pushing against it, what do they propose replacing this sacred holiday with? Well, let's ask the White House, shall we? Yes, there we have it. It's now, you got it, Transgender Day of Visibility, don't you know? Now, sorry, you never heard of Trans Visibility Day? Well, guess what? Neither had I. But apparently it's a long-standing holiday. It's been in business for a whole 15 years now. That's right. And I don't know how it works, but I think what happens then is if Dylan Mulvaney comes out on Trans Visibility Day and sees her shadow, well, that means 6 more weeks of Pride Month or something. I don't know. But seriously, though, this Trans Visibility Day, it's a very big deal. It's big enough now to subvert Easter, which is only the most important day in the Christian calendar when more than 2 billion Christians around the globe celebrate the resurrection of Jesus and the conquering of the grave. Now, I know what some people out there are thinking, and hi, Paul Barry, this might be you. Look, it's just a coincidence that Easter and this Trans Day of Visibility fall on the same day. Certainly CNN regime media journalist Brian Stelter tried to pick up this thread and help the White House spin its way out of a controversy that's been raging all weekend, saying, quote, the annual celebration started 15 years ago. The organizer chose the springtime date because she wanted some distance from Transgender Day of Remembrance as well as Pride Month, which is in June. Now, if you ask me, this is an interesting line of defense. Apparently, the fact that Trans Day of Visibility fell on Easter was not because of any sinister attempt, according to Stelter, to replace Easter with a new celebration of sexual diversity, but simply because the calendar was already so crowded that this was the only place it would fit. And indeed, that calendar is crowded with these identity politics events. I mean, just to go through a few of the events the day could have clashed with, well, let's look at the calendar. There's Aromantic Spectrum Awareness Week. There's LGBTQIA plus Health Awareness Week. International Asexuality Day. There's Lesbian Visibility Day, Agender Pride Day, Pansexual and Pan-Romantic Awareness Day. I suspect that's quite the party. Bisexuality Awareness Week. Who knew? International Pronoun Day, then also Asexual Awareness Week, because apparently the single day earlier in the year, not quite enough, and so on and so forth. And someone added up all the days there on that calendar and figured out that there is something like 148 different feast days celebrating, marking, or remembering folks all along the LGBTQI2 spirit plus spectrum. And it's not just the White House. New York State Governor Kathy Hochul also ordered her state to mark the day, lighting up everything from the Empire State Building to Niagara Falls in the trans colors. A lot different than what they did back in 1956 when they marked Trans Visibility Day, or as it used to be called, Easter, by lighting up the skyline thusly. You get the idea. Now, I don't bring any of this up. I want to be really, really clear about this. I don't want to bring any of this up to give gay or lesbian or trans people any grief or a hard time or anything at all. Just the opposite, because, in fact, many members of these communities find all these awareness days terribly, terribly cringe. But rather, it's worth pointing out the fact that the White House has made such a big deal of the day and proclaimed it for Easter, whether by coincidence or design. The fact they've done this really brings up a much bigger issue, and that is this: the continued assault on tradition by the left, which, like rust, never sleeps and never rests in its quest to undermine and denigrate anything that looks like tradition, particularly Western tradition. And what the slow but steady colonization of the calendar by left-wing affinity groups is actually part of is a much bigger program to replace the things that we had organized our year round, Christmas, Easter, what have you, Australia Day, and replace them with events centered around identity politics. The aim of all this is to get us to stop thinking about things that are traditional or even, dare I say, transcendental, and start thinking, getting us thinking constantly about remaking the world according to the left's term. This isn't a new trick, you know. The French Revolution saw the calendar entirely rewritten. Cambodia's Pol Pot had his year zero. The Soviets replaced all the old Orthodox feast days with new communist ones. And because the left is authoritarian by nature, their claims that the right is full of fascists is really just a distraction. They cannot stand alternate or higher sources of truth, such as, well, Christianity or our Judeo-Christian tradition. Indeed, not only did the White House conflate Easter and Trans Day of Visibility, but they also, at the White House Easter egg contest, banned religious themes from Easter egg designs submitted by kids to be held at a contest at the White House. Now, I'm sure Brian Stelter from CNN will be along any minute now to explain why this is just a coincidence in a moment. But the more you look at it, the more it looks like they don't want to knock religion off its pedestal so much as create a whole new woke one. The same people who laugh at people who believe in God or mock the resurrection, though they would never do that with certain other faiths, if you know what I mean, well, these guys, they're trying to make a new religion based on a weird reading of technology and science and biology with its own confession of belief and articles of faith. Remember, these are very super rational people who want you to believe the science, and at the same time want you to believe that men can have babies. Now, you're free to believe that if you like, but me, I'd rather it was kept out of schools. And it is no coincidence that they are in the process of coming after Easter.